시작했어? Okay, let's start today's journal club. So I'm Kang Min Lee from BIMEC, and today I will introduce you the paper on business timing and interindividual differences in shift worker adaptation. So let's start with the abstract. Okay.
주인으로 가세요.
So everybody done with the abstract? So did you find any gaps in this abstract?
Just show me there was more explicit.
Actually, yeah, I will find a very good gap. But at least what they try to solve is that they want to build an individual response to shift work and why they vary. So, do you have any comment on the abstract?
Let's think about is it? Oh yeah, question. Go ahead.
What is the meaning of more explicit gap?
Usually in journal we kind of find gap sentence in the abstract. So, but for this abstract, there is not really explicitly revealed gap here.
So typically an abstract, actually same with the Feynman's algorithm. In the first or two sentences about the problem, write down the problem you want to solve. For instance, Riemann conjecture has not been solved yet. In this word, I served it, if possible. So that kind of we call gap sentences.
Yeah.
So for instance, your work is you're doing the part and SCM. So maybe in your case, your gap sentence will be no one has studied the coupling between part and SCM in terms of blah blah blah. That's gap sentence.
Yeah, okay, then so before so because there are lots of interns who are not familiar with our circadian rhythm, I will very briefly review how it works. So as a human being living light and dark environment, and we can see and that signal will in through our eyes, and it will translate to this so-called SCN, this procrastinating nucleus in our brain. So this acts as kind of circadian pacemaker of our body, and it will kind of transmit signal to our body, such as heart and blood, and can control blood pressure, heart rate, or our body temperature. So this SCN is kind of central oscillator and central circadian oscillator of our body. And it will keep your body in 20 to 24-hour day period. So it is often regarded as kind of a single oscillator because we have one main oscillator in our brain. something like this. They will oscillate throughout 24 hours. However, there are some evidences that single oscillators might not be enough to fully understand our circadian rhythm. Okay, lastly, this is very cute golden hamster, which is very popular lab animal. They are usually raised in the indoor lab cage, and you will control the light. So usually, like for example, you can give them 12-hour light and also 20-hour dark, which we call LD cycle, light and dark cycle. And if you put the hamster wheel in the cage, you can record how they go the wheel. And this black plus are their activity, how much they roll the wheel. So usually in that situation, the hamsters become active once a day. Because as you guys are also active once a day. However, if you're a kind of a cruel scientist, you will never turn off the light and see what will happen in this situation. First of all, do you have any guess on what will happen? Let's think a while. Okay.
For a month, there is no darkness.
Okay. In perspective of hamster, he will very suffer from this situation. However, as a scientist, you can draw a beautiful plot. Something looks like this. Let's focus on here. What do you see? Yeah. They see kind of splitting of their active period. This is splitting phenomena, and they show double active period per day when you are constrained to life cycle. So this kind of phenomena called some kind of another model, which is called double oscillator model. And it's made by Pittenberg and Kang. So to describe the phenomena, they construct the double oscillator model, and which consists of evening and morning oscillator. And this model is used to predict various behavior in response to light modulations. Okay, for example, you may change the photo period, the length of our day, the light day, something like this. So if it,
Summer or winter.
you can give longer light, or you can keep shorter light in winter. Or you can drastically the light and dark cycle. Here you light dark, but here you dark light. Maybe opposite, yeah. So this model is used to describe the kind of modulation of light. And actually that kind of light modulation can easily happen in our real life. The most natural example is the signal change of the period. And as you know, the day become longer in summer and they become shorter in winter. Or you may stay up all night. Maybe you're watching Lisa or staying up all the night, and you're kind of experiencing similar LL cycle. Or another very popular example is the shiftwork. You should split your life cycle. And so artificial light can easily change your light exposure. And so this kind of under frequent light modulation situation, that pure oscillator model could provide valuable insight to our human behavior also. So as you see in abstract, we will deal with the human being, but with this model.
Hey, maybe can you go back to this slide? Maybe It will be a little better background. So let's think about in terms of mathematics. What this means is every 24 hours something happens. Repetition. Then if we draw this as a ordinary differential equation, solution looks like what? It's flat or not? Every 24 hours something happens. So how the solution should look like? It should be oscillation. Right? It should be repeat. It's like your watch. Every 24 hour, one oscillation, another 24 hour, one oscillation, one over 24 hour oscillation, then we can simulate this phenomenon. Everything is repeated every 24 hours. Clear? But look at this. For this one, single oscillator is enough. But how can we explain this phenomenon? It's not the 24-hour period pattern, right? Something happened in the morning, and then something happened in the evening, and then something happened in the morning, something happened in the evening. How can you simulate this phenomenon? Something in the morning, something in the afternoon, but everything is 24-hour again. Morning and morning, evening and evening. So if you look at this two, every 24-hour, right? This one, every 24-hour. What is the natural concept to explain this phenomenon? There are how many oscillators? Two independent oscillator. One oscillator solution looks like peak in the morning. And then another oscillator is peak in the evening. So that this at the 1975, Pitendrick and Dan, they are biologists, but they are also mathematicians. They come up with this model. If in our brain, there are E and M, they call evening oscillator and morning oscillator. At that time, we don't have any biological background, so they just call it morning oscillator and evening oscillator, and we couple them. So there are two coupled oscillators. But during the natural life cycle, their coupling is very strong. If we have two independent oscillators, but their coupling is strong, then what happens? They are, Jim? Synchronized. Synchronized means their peak should be always same. But light become weird, then this coupling becomes weak. Then these two oscillators behave their own way. I know in this room, I'm a morning type person, but let me check. Yeah, Shingo, when he became to my lab, he was an evening type person, correct? You come to the lab around the late afternoon and then until midnight, right? That's your working pattern. Yeah, right. Because he was in Japan, I'm in Korea, our coupling was very weak. So his rhythm was his own rhythm and my rhythm was my own rhythm. But now he finally arrived in Korea, our coupling becomes strong. And what happens? Rather than two oscillators, now we have a single oscillator. So then the surprising thing was actually it's a pure mathematical concept, but nowadays, now we can look at the brain inside. Now we now know that indeed there are two oscillators in the SCN. SCN is actually considered of two parts. The bottom part we call BIP neuron, top part we call the ABP neuron. Their type, cell types are different. One type is a morning neuron actually, another type is actually evening neuron. So it's confirmed biologically like 40 years later. Isn't it cool? So from the behavior phenotype, they write down the equation and they hypothesize that there should be two types of the neuron in the brain, and then indeed there are. Make sense? Okay, so that's the but it's a confirm with the hamster, or because hamster we can do this kind of experiment, LM cycle, or we can also dissect the brain, but for the human, unfortunately, we can't. We just believe that there could be, isn't it? Okay. So, okay, up to here, right?
Yeah.
So everyone now, is it clear? I think in your brain, there are E part, morning part. If you live regularly, like our ideal internship, then these two oscillators will be fully synchronized. But if you watch too quick your result too much, then it's really, that's actually bad for your health. Seriously.
Okay. So now let's take a closer look at the model. So basically this model consists of three parts. One light signal and two coupled oscillators, evening and morning oscillator. So we can express the phase of the light signal something like this and more easily. So during the 24-hour, you have light from 0 to L, time L. So that L will be mapped to phase pi. And for 24-hour, it will be mapped to phase 2 pi. So it converted to phase oscillator. And then you can also write down the equation for the evening and morning oscillator. Something looks like that, and I will explain one by one.
Sorry, you okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you like simulate this model, you can see this kind of coupled oscillator. So let's look at the first term. So this term is the natural frequency of these oscillators. And actually this natural frequency will depend on the photo period. So you can see this term in G and L. So which can be write down something like this in function. And the next term represents the coupling between the two oscillators, morning and evening oscillator. So AN is just constant. And for the last term, it is the coupling of each oscillator to the light signal. And it can be right. It is also dependent on the photo period. So these three parts consist of this dual oscillator model. Any question? And now we have to explain the human data with this coupled oscillator model. Okay, let's look at briefly about what kind of data we will use. So throughout the year, we will measure the step count with our wearable devices. For this case, just simple active data. And really, it turns out that from the data that this activity might depend on the season. They peak at the summer and they become lower through the winter. And one more thing to consider is that the photo period naturally changes with the season. In summer, they have longer day, and winter, very short day. So we have this annual steps and photo period data. And as you can get, you will put this into our model. So the main idea to fit the model is that you will interpret the phase gap between these two oscillators will be proportional to the step count of the day. And the reasoning behind this is that the phase gap and the step count, they are both proportional to active period of the day. So basically, when this oscillator become high, we assume our activity also become high. So the high activity period becomes lengthened as their phase gap is getting bigger. And then this is one example model fit for one person. So you can see that it is not really perfect, but anyway, the pattern is that this is step count, each point is, and the step count is higher during summer and is lower during the winter. And this red line is model fit for this data, for this model.
Yeah, please think about that, why they are correlated. So, why daily step count could be correlated with photo period of the day. Let's think about why. It's very simple. Why? Why we have a longer day, the number of our step count per day could increase. Any idea? Think about your summer and winter daily step count. 만복에 같은 거죠. How much you walk during the day could increase during the summer compared to the winter. Why? 왜 그럴까요?
We have longer day.
Kind of the simple answer is if the day becomes longer, then the period you are moving could increase. But it's very natural to see that for the longer day, the number of your step count or activity count should increase. But for instance, if you calculate the it should be increasing, right? So if this is really strong correlation, if we divide the step count by the photo period length, if it's flat, then it's perfect correlation. Okay, 네, 가보시죠. 저건 가운데 있는 거, 저건 한번 설명해 줘. 오른쪽은 그냥 당연히 그럴 것 같은데, 이건 그 오른쪽 그래프는 너무나 당연할 건데, 그게 EM 오슬레이션 무슨 상관입니까?
요거.
Can you explain one more time?
So basically, this model consists of two oscillators. So when we assume when this oscillator becomes high, we become more active. So
The phase gap is proportional to the step count?
yeah,
That's Kerr hypothesis. Why?
because if their base gap is very small, we can define active period something like this is active period. However, if their base gap is lengthened, we have longer active period.
오케이. 네, 이렇게 설명해 주는 게 좋겠구나. 이제 좀 더. 아니구나. Winter, their hypothesis very synchronized, right? These two are very close. In the summer, they become a little bit far away. Then what is the extreme condition of the summer? So typical summer day length is how much? 16? Or something like that, right? And what is the extreme of this limit of the summer? If we go to the Norway or whatever, 24. That's what we call complete light condition. That is what we saw is they become completely separate. That's what we saw, right? So you see this kind of mood. So if we observe here, then activity during the day will be around this time. Here, from wider. But if it become too much, then this become two independent. So yeah, okay. So that's why they think that it becomes wider so that activity is also increasing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
So with this model and with 2D data, and what we will have is the fitted parameters. Now the question becomes, so there is any association with genetic variation with those fitted parameters? So they kind of inspected this kind of gene, SRC2A2 gene, and which is in the previous study involved in seasonality in the mouse. And they find out 10 major genotype groups within their data. And they discover 2 parameter differences among the genetic groups. So first one is the light to evenly oscillated coupling. So you can see that group 9 and group 10, that's low light to even coupling. And one more thing is that they also discovered the coupling between E to N, even to N oscillator. The group 9 has higher even to morning oscillator coupling. So in summary, they find out this significant association of genetic variation and their model parameter.
Everyone, can you imagine what this means? So let's think of what is a low light to the E coupling. If you go to the left top corner, there is a parameter AZE. This is how much your light affect on your evening oscillator. So which means evening oscillator is very insensitive to light change. And then the group 9 E to M coupling means there is a 2 direction of the coupling, E to the M and M to the E. E to the M is high coupling means the effect of the evening to the morning is very, very strong. It's opposite relationship between me and Shingo. Between Shingo and me, morning has very strong effect on evening oscillator. Okay, is it clear? So what they fitting their model to the mouse experimental data?
No. The fitted model to this step count. So they have the dual oscillator model parameter. And they also classify all people into different groups.
So this is human.
Yeah. This is human.
Is medical.
Yeah, medical internet data.
But how they know the genome? So they even know the genotype of medical need.
Yeah.
Okay, so they classify the medical intent in terms of the searching what kind of gene, specific gene or
This specific gene.
okay for a specific gene.
There are SNPs in the gene.
Okay.
And I think they selected critical
Implementation.
mutations there.
And then only group 9, 10 are a little bit in terms of light effect of the evening is different, and then E to the M coupling is also different. Oh.
Sure.
So these parameters are coupled. Natural frequency, omega E and omega M are not involved in this.
No. Actually, I didn't really. So omega, they also did associated with this parameter. So it is also fitted.
Yeah, P and AM and has to be connection.
Yeah.
think they provide the natural photo periods and their activity data to
Yes.
fit the model.
Yes.
Maybe they tracking this medical intern maybe about a year, I guess. So they see that how your behavior changed in the spring, summer, winter, fall. Then they try to fit this oscillator model to their behavior. And then group 9 and 10 are significantly different. Actually, although they said only 9 is high each of them, but 10 is tendency is also, although significance is not. But anyway, this 9, 10 R looks like a very special group. Before moving forward, what's your guess? 9 group 9 and 10 are, you expect a good or bad? It's good to fitting to better to fit to the shift working, because it's a medical intern, it's extremely also difficult to work perfectly. Were they good or bad? Let's think about it. Any guess? Who think this number 9 and 10 are best intern or worst intern? Let's make a bet. How many people think that this group 9 and 10 will be the good? How many people think that bad? Who think the good? And look, who think the bad? Okay. Dominant, let's see.
Let's see. So let's first look at what happened in the wearable data. They compared the so-called heart rate swing with alignment of group 9 and 10, and compared the major group, the group 1, the biggest group. And we can define this heart rate with alignment with heart rate phase and their sleep pattern. So heart rate phase also from their wearable device, and they fitted like cosine-like model to find their nadir of the oscillator. And it can also just record their sleep pattern, and you can see this midpoint of sleep. And their difference is defined in heart rate and sleep misalignment. So this is the wearable data results, and it seems that group 9 and 10 has higher heart rate and sleep misalignment. So actually, they did not directly interpret this result with their data, but this is just my own personal idea. So it might be because of their weaker component to life. So they are easily desynchronized, and so can induce the larger misalignment.
But that is also a very interesting point. But what would be another interesting point from this data set? From this data set, rather than comparing just overall pattern, what is the interesting? 뭐가 이상하니?
인터넷 안.
Two?
So maybe we can say that group 9 is more fluent.
Okay, so let's say think that group 1 is, let's say, normal person. Let's look at the normal person. What's the interesting part?
And definitely distinguish somewhere.
Is it triggered in the summer your heart and your brain? Misalignment becomes higher in the summer compared to the winter. The winter is better in terms of it. Is it?
Winter has higher misalignment.
Oh, what?
Lower in the summer. Higher.
Oh no, group 1.
그건 인터넷
윈터가 작은 거 아니야? 겨울이? 여름이 높고 시즈널리티로 보면 틀렸나?
아니야.
맞았어?
해석은 안 해가지고.
아, 그냥 우리가 해석해보자.
네.
맞긴 맞아?
네.
그러니까 우리 1번을 정상으로 생각하면 이때가 높고 이때가 낮은 동안
네.
그냥 축은 맞지?
네.
그러니까 심장이랑 이거 사이에.
네.
The point is your brain actually control your body anyway, right? So that usually their misalignment should be small. But in the summer, misalignment becomes higher. Why? 그게 난 제일 재밌는데. 일단 그룹 9, 10이 이 사람들의 연구 목적은 알겠는데 왜 이 misalignment가 seasonality가 있을까? Why there are seasonality? The communication between your brain and heart.
그렇게 생각하면 그룹 9, 10도 미스얼라이먼트가 많이 없긴 하네.
항상 높은 것이
네.
더 안 좋긴
더 안
하지.
좋게, 계속 안 좋으니까.
계속 안 좋은 거지.
계속 안 좋으니까.
우리는 그래도 윈터라도 좋고. 왜 그럴까?
So there's that light, the coupling, the coupling is different.
아, 훌륭하다. 그래, 우리 이걸 생각해보자. This is today's key topic. If we test it, can you understand this blue curve? In the winter, we are here in the brain. In the summer, we are here in the summer. Why in the brain, why in the winter, our brain and heart are more strongly connected, but in the summer, why our brain and heart far away? 왜 그럴까? What is the difference between here and here? 그치? This time, in the winter, our clock is very, very accurate. Because they say this is a peak time. But when it becomes summer, what happened? There's mom and daddy. And they said in the heart, this is peak time. But here, they say that maybe now, no, now, there are two commanders. So that's why here, winter, our brain give a very clear signal to the heart. kind of, 어떻게 해요? 영어로 보면 지휘자가 뭐지? 영어로? conductor. So there's orchestra, your heart is one of your orchestra team. And then the conductor, if we have only one conductor, your orchestra team will follow everybody. But if Kang Min and I have both are two conductors, this is some situation. Then what happens? Heart could be confused. So that misalignment could be increased. Okay. Then in the winter, group 9 and 10, we expect this for the normal person, but what's our then hypothesis? Group 9, 10 people, their coupling was very weak, so that this EM oscillator could be not synchronized very well, so that maybe it could be similar like summer. So far, everything is hypothesis. But anyway, when you read a paper, you should just keep thinking. Yeah. Not only the weaker coupling to the light, maybe weaker coupling between evening and morning as well. That's my guess.
Actually, they had stronger coupling.
Really?
Yeah.
No, group 9, 10 was weaker, isn't it?
Weaker is
Oh, high.
Yeah.
The E to M. I don't know. Even in the winter, they have a strong misalignment. I don't know. And
Yeah.
they simulate the EMF oscillator for the human. they show group 9 and 10. How they change in the winter and
Actually, I will show later, but it's very just crude simulation, not really realistic.
okay.
So, and the one more thing, they also compare the step counts throughout the year. And it is a measure. One just more characteristic is that group dependent, the larger seasonal variation is step coverage.
여전히 난 내 이론 맞는 것 같은데. Kind of, with this, we can explain this as well, right? Why they have a larger step count? Summer. Winter, why lower step count? This. Why group 9 can fail? Why still high step count in the winter? Because they're still in the summer mode, I guess. Oh, it's opposite. Oh no, group 9. Oh, 얘는 뭐야? 어? 얘는 뭐지?
그냥 다 컸으니까.
응?
그럼 나인테는 둘 나고.
그럼 왜 텐은 또 뭐지? 이제 설명 안 했구나.
사실 요 파트가 네, 좀 따로 나왔어요. 원래는
아.
설명 힘든 부분이었을까.
그냥 재훈이랑 홍경 박사가 설명할 수 있을 것 같은데. 근데 왜냐면 저 데이터를 가져와서 우리 커플들을 이렇게 만든 다음에 또 설명할 수 있으면 그것도 좋은 연구죠. 와, 여기 설명 못했을 것 같은데. 못했지.
아니 뒤에 나온 결과도 좀 애매한 설명들이 하는.
녹화가 되고 있어서 시크릿을 얘기할 수 없으니까 일단 멈춰볼까?
That makes sense.
음.
Okay. Next, also they kind of predicted one more thing about the impact of shiftwork, especially in group 9. So group 9, they have the larger E2M coupled. In the simulation, compared to the just nominal or baseline model, if you increase the parameter AM, you will see that after the LD shift, no splitting happens. Here, splitting happens, or no splitting happens. Because they are strong coupled. And also the entrainment was quicker compared to the nominal model. So their prediction is that okay, Gumna circadian rhythm is more responsive to lysander. So that means they will entrain quickly to this shift schedule.
They are very good shift work.
It depends on interpretation.
Okay. Anyway, they can, if they travel to the Korea, they can immediately adjust to the Korean time zone. Okay.
So they kind of investigated the entrainment in response to the night shift. So you can, so this is how the situation is going on. So this is the sleep pattern. Just some example sleep pattern. So in second day, the night shift happens again. So they don't sleep during the midnight. And you can find the circadian phase or heart rate every day. So every day they compute first the heart rate change per day. And one more thing is that every day sleep heart rate can be so high. And so they predict that group 9 will experience quick heart rate change. And so as a result, higher heart rate sleep is alignment.
So 저게 their guess.
Yeah.
I see. They think that their brain is too quickly changed to the
Yeah,
new
yeah.
environment, but heart is still maintained as original. So that's why the misalignment could be higher. Oh, that also makes sense.
So let's check this Wikidata. And I think some of you might not agree. But anyway. So after one day night shift, let's first look at this part. So the first day was shift day, and after the 1 and 2, 3, they back to the day shift. They come back to the original life. Let's see first in the group 1. So this is the change in character phase, everyday phase. So for the group 1, relatively small character phase change in response to night shift. But for the group 9, as expected, phase change happened. So it is also reflected in the characteristic misalignment. For the group 1, they have the smaller misalignment after night shift, and group 9 has larger misalignment after night shift.
Oh, I'm confused here. Why they expect that group 9 would have large heart rate change?
So
Your outbreak quickly. So, so I'm 이상한데 저기. 이렇게 잠깐만. 아니, 이거 어떻게 통과한 거지? 되나? 여러분들 한번 상상해 볼래요? Your brain regulate your sleep, the lives. So communication in one direction. And so far, what they claim is group 9. Here, again, am very strongly connected.
Yes.
Strongly connected. So that when they put this is weak, right?
Yes.
Let me explain this too using current based on their idea. So light to our brain is weak. Sleep to the heart. They talk about how the sleep to the heart are coupled in the group mind. Stronger coupling or weaker coupling?
Oh, they did not directly mention about their coupling. So it is only the consequences of the coupling of life model.
Group 9. Large heart rate change in response. 빛이 바뀌었어. The light is changed.
저거에
설명이 나오나?
앞에 리즈닝이 됐던 게
이거죠.
이런 파라미터를 바꿔가지고 시뮬레이션 했는데 스플레이팅을 일어나지 않았고 이제 이렇게 변화하는 게 좀 빨라가지고 그렇기 때문에 우리가 하트레이트도 스케줄에 맞춰서 빨리 변할 거다.
그럼 미설라인트. 그래서 다 빨리 변한다. 오케이.
네.
그렇다고 해서 그게 그럼 미설라인먼트는 뭐예요? 슬림은 그 행동이니까?
네.
잠은 잠대로 자고 생체 지형을 변한다.
그 두 개는 또 약간 동물적으로 생각하면
So sleep is independent. Sleep is mainly based on work schedule.
Yes.
그럼 얘들이 보통 했던 brain oscillator 베이스가 아니라 그냥 sleep
행동
베이스.
그런 행동 베이스.
Okay. So what Kang Min say is, according to the simulation, rather than splitting, we have a very quick shift. So they assume that every circadian phase is very quickly changed in this group. So if we go to the USA, then 3 or 4 days we adjust completely, we adjust to the USA. But sleep itself is mainly regulated by our work schedule. So that sleep and heart is intrinsic one. But sleep behavior itself is we can more like the social. So the social we cannot control. So that if heart change a lot, then our internal circadian phase and our sleep pattern misalignment could be larger. Okay. 이렇게 보겠다는 거예요. sleep이 central oscillator는 아니고.
네네.
So anyway, then group 9 is their circadian phase is very quick change. Okay. Yeah.
And they also see for the 2-day shift. 2-day night shift. And they also reported those same kind of pattern. Group 1, group 9, small and very high rate change. And group 1, group 9, small and large misalignment. So anyway, their conclusion is that the dual modulator model and the gates demonstrate the genotype dependent difference on the adaptation to shift work. So it is kind of their conclusion.
I see. Then I think there is the interpretation could be a little bit bent. There is a person who can adjust the circadian rhythm very, very quickly. Is it good or bad? And if we go to the USA conference, it's good. We can adjust to the new time zone very quickly. Yeah. But for the medical doctor, although their circadian phase changed, their work schedule is still maintained. Then it could be bad.
Of course, it's a
한 이거는 원하는 대로 칠수 있겠다.
네.
Anyway, all of you bet that group 9 was bad. See,
Only
what's their conclusion?
this is conclusion
So they didn't say it's good or bad.
is quite I think quite neutral, but because the previous study they found that this hydration misalignment is bad. So they intended to is bad. Yeah. So in the previous study they found that hydration misalignment is quite related to bad mood. So maybe it can occur your mood disorder or something else.
So this assumes that some kind of quick return to the original, some regular daytime. That's a little bit. In that case, they are saying that group 9 is bad and misalignment in
Yeah.
such cases.
Yeah.
So they are too easily shifted by the time exposure, so that when they want to come back to the normal schedule, they experience the misalignments and they could experience something bad.
I think it's kind of they're saying robustness of certain reason maybe.
But if they are doing kind of rotating shifts, group 9 could be much
But yeah, maybe
better.
So kind of let's think about it. So day, night. And then typically we work here, right? So your circadian phase is very aligned to here, but suddenly now you have to work again. Okay. So tomorrow, I know today you came here 9 and it's until 6 p.m. But suddenly I changed my mind. From tomorrow, our working time is switched to the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. I know, Shingo, you like it. Yeah. Now we switch. It's very bad. So, yeah, the only Shingo because we are all aligned to the 9 to 6 p.m. So tomorrow, although I say, please come to 9 p.m. for the working, I'm very sure that after 12 hours, you're sleepy, right? But what is the 9 group? Group 9. Their circadian phase could be quickly adjusted, although they come here, they may survive until like 2 or 3 a.m. because their circadian phase is 50. In that sense, I think group 9 could be good or bad. Good in terms of me, because you work hard. But what they said is, what is in terms of the health, your health? Not this study, their previous study showed that the misalignment between heart and sleep causing the depression. That's what they found. So then what's the 9 group? Group 9. Their HR is quick change. Their HR, their sleep misalignment is always high. Then you could be depressed. So then what is good? Your working performance is good, but your health is bad. Then we have to put the group 9 to the shift worker or not. If I'm owner, I'm happy. But if you're individual, then no. It's a very difficult to make a clear claim for this work. Yeah.
So, for green line was strong, so we only have a lead. So although lights period change, this clock only set the light information. But if we have a normal clock in our brain, then we can read for seasonality. So we have more information about the light pattern.
근데 너무 어렵다. 결과가. 그러니까 이해하면서 끝냈어.
좀 뭉개습니다. 쪽에서 자체가 다 좀 뭉개져 있어요.
글이 명확하게 뭘 주장하기는 너무 어려운 결과긴 글 쓸 때 엄청 힘들었어요.
SNP에서 톡도 들었었는데
그때도 이해 못했지. 그러니까 이거 이해할 수 없는 발표인데 루비가 발표했죠? 네. 루비, 민기, 대욱 이 세 명이 있었죠. 네. 대욱이는 이해했을까? 오, 와우. 이게 끝인가? 돼 있어요?
네, 끝입니다.
슬라이드 맞나? Okay, please, yeah, sorry, please have a question or comment.
그룹 9이랑 10의 특징적인 계절성 차이가 어떻게 지금 아까는 뭐 미스얼라이먼트 기준으로만 계절성을 봤었는데 액티비티 패턴 자체에 대한 계절성 예를 들어서 그룹 9, 10이 계절별 앰플리튜드가 큰지 작은지가 잘 안 나더라고요. 이게 되게 그룹 10만 앰플리튜드가 되게 크고
사실 그런 거 아닌데 뭐 relative하게 보면 제일 큰데 애플리트 밸류랑 보면 거의 얘랑 비슷하긴 한데.
그래요? 그럼 원은 사실 지금 차이가 별로 안 보이거든요. 어째서 피팅이 차이가 나게 나왔는가 같아요.
일부 사실 결국은 두 파라미터만 봤잖아요. 그리고 그 파라미터 얘를 해석하진 않아요.
사실 파라미터 값이 절대적인 값이 되게 차이가 없거든요.
그런 8.33.
By the way, so this is intern only in Michigan or whole USA?
The whole US.
Yeah, they consider latitude to select the portfolio.
And when they do this analysis, they adjust it or not?
So when we fit the model, we need to set the portfolio.
Yeah, it's okay, but yeah.
No, it's not.
That's a little bit weird to me. Texas March, Michigan March, completely different. Michigan March is
sun rays up at 9 a.m. and then sunset at 4 p.m. That's Michigan March. But Texas March, sunrise at 6 or 5 a.m. and sunset at 10 p.m.
그 차이가 아마 모델 PT 인풋의 L이 있거든요.
그치, 그거 그러니까 모델 PT 할 때는 오케이인데.
네.
이거는 그냥
요거를 그릴
아,
때는
결과는
뭐 이거
결과는
No, I don't know. This is really good idea or not. Using the x-axis is a month. What is a better way? Why don't we just switch this to total period of the where they are? 정말 했는데 안 나왔나?